Welcome to Tune In with Talia. My friend Joe Buchanan is here with me this evening. Thank you,
Hi,
Joe, for
everybody.
joining me. Yay. So
I
every
love
week,
your I love your intro.
thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. It's
good.
kind of fun, right? It makes you
Yeah,
want
it's a
to
good
dance,
time. Yeah.
get you in the mood. So, every week I have a new musical artist as a guest on this show, and they share their story and their musical talents with all my listeners. And this week, we have a very special guy who is not only talented, but he's a wonderful person, and that's
No.
Joe. I find it to be very genuine and down to earth and a lot of fun to hang out with, and we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. So, and we met this past February, right? This past February at a Song Leader Boot Camp conference in St.
Yeah.
Louis. And the moment that I spotted him in the crowd, because he sure did stand out, I thought to myself, who is that guy wearing the cowboy hat and boots? He just looked different. It was like, who is that? I have to hear his music. He had a guitar in his back, and I'm like, I gotta hear his music. And I'm so happy that I did. I enjoy listening to you. Joe is a Jewish country music artist from Houston, Texas. And for the last several years, he's been touring around the country, giving concerts, leading an original Shabbat service. And he created a workshop called Choosing to be Chosen, which is all around his conversion to Judaism and his journey home through Judaism. So I have enjoyed getting to know you, Joe, and it's a pleasure to call you my friend, and it's a pleasure to share you with all my listeners this evening.
Well, I really appreciate that. All that right back to you.
Thank you. Thanks. So you want to start off with something, just to give us a little taste, and then we can go into some questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
What do you want to play for us?
This is a tune called Sing a Song. Yeah, well, if you ask me, do I believe in miracles? I'd say, yes, I do, yes, I do. How can I believe in what I cannot see? Well, my friends, I can see you. It's a little less than fate, a lot more than chance brings beautiful strangers our way. Yes, I believe, oh, in miracles. I believe they happen every day. So come on, sing a song to the one that has loved you for so long. Sing, oh, now sing a song to the one that has loved you for so long. Ranana la donai naria letzor yeshenu nekad mafanav betoda bizmiro naria lo. Sing a song, yeah, to the one that has loved you for so long. Sing, oh, now sing a song, yeah, to the one that has loved you for so long. If you ask me, do I believe in miracles? I'd say, yes, I do, yes, I do. How can I believe in what I cannot see? Well, my friends, I can see you. It's a little less than fate and a lot more than chance that brings beautiful strangers our way. So yes, I believe, oh, in miracles. I believe they happen every day.
Beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
That was really nice.
Thank you very much. I always find that's just a little bit of a kind of a warm up. I will often do that before services, like when we first get together, before we say anything, before anybody says anything, we're just going to have like this Kavana moment. Take the pressure off, take all that initial, get all the shakes out kind of thing before we start dialing into it. So yeah, just give everybody a moment to kind of put their feet up and like, I don't have to do anything. Nothing's being asked of me right now. I'm just gonna kick back and just relax.
Yeah.
It doesn't be a running theme in a lot of stuff I do. Just put your feet up for a little bit. We'll be all right.
You definitely set
Thank you.
the mood, the tone. Our synagogue had you out over a Zoom concert, right?
Yeah.
This past May? We were going to have you out for an in-person concert, and then plans changed, unfortunately. But we still got to have you.
You did. That was a good time. I sure enjoyed your community. That was a lot of fun.
We enjoyed you. It was fun. How have you been since then? How have you been holding up?
I think like everybody doing really just right. So you've got like, as people, we're all going through this, right? Everybody is dealing with this and adapting and struggling and trying to figure out what is this going to be a new normal for a while, which I personally think it will be the new normal for some time.
Yeah.
As an artist, you have to change everything, right? For communities, there's so much that is about the personal connection, the in-person experience, at the time, the shaking hands, when we could do it, and praying directly with folks and meeting people and spending time together. And all that is gone in a lot of ways, at least the in-person stuff. Yeah. So everybody worked so hard on how do we reconnect digitally. And it's been super tough, but I'm really, on the one hand, I don't like the way this all happened. Mm-hmm. Nobody does. But I'm really glad that we've been forced to look at this in a new way, because I think we're finding some new strengths and some new great tools and things, so that when, at some point, if we do go back to that, when we go back to that, that we've learned a lot of lessons while doing this, and we can use this to help enhance all of that. Those communities who maybe didn't do digital services before now are doing them. They have to. And maybe now when we go back, there'll be 2 offerings. I'm excited about what this will add to what comes later. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's maybe a weird answer. It's a time of tremendous creativity for people trying to figure out how do we connect. And I love that.
Actually, I think there are some people that actually prefer staying home on a Shabbat in their pajamas and drinking wine and having a service right at their table.
Absolutely. That no pressure feeling. That's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's very Shabbos, right?
Yeah.
You don't even have to leave your house. You don't have to put your shoes on,
It's so casual. Yeah.
That's right.
The in-person thing is definitely something to be missed. The hugging, the connection.
It's an interesting thing. When I first started doing touring like full time, and at the height of it, before all this, I was on the road on average about 3 weekends a month. So it was pretty, constant. But building that connection over time with so many people from so many different places, it just adds so much context to both the things I think about and look at when I think about Judaism, to the way that I pray, to the way I write music, and all of a sudden just having it turned off like a light, was like kind of whiplash. But yeah, I definitely miss, like everybody, I miss the in-person stuff. But look how rebellious we are. We found ways to get together anyway, right? They're like, don't gather. And we're like, watch us. We're going to get together on Zoom, or, we're going to figure it out, because that's who we are. We're rebels by nature.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about how you started as an artist. I mean, when did you start playing guitar?
Oh,
how did you write songs? Did anybody teach you, or did it come,
No, I never had a teacher. I'm pretty sure we couldn't have afforded any kind of music school or anything like that. And I never thought that I'd be good at band. And I mean, honestly, when I was growing up, I didn't think I was pretty much good at anything. But my dad bought me a guitar at a garage sale. Brought it home, and it was an electric guitar, and it had a bunch of buttons on it that created different effects. I mean, this was not great, but it was a hoot, right? And I was like, how do I I got to plug this into something. Well, I had this, I'm dating myself a little bit. I had this receiver hooked up to some speakers in my bedroom, and I was like, oh, there's a microphone jack. So I plugged the guitar into the microphone jack, cranked up my speakers, and completely destroyed my stereo. And I was hooked from that moment on. It felt like the coolest thing in the world. And but the problem is that I wrote so much music growing up, and I never planned on doing anything with it. And I was never really liking anything that I was writing. And it was something that I really gave up until Judaism happened.
Wow.
And then I felt like I had a million things I wanted to tell people, like so much stuff that people needed to hear, needed to know, that maybe they didn't know. And it really felt like, I could do some good for folks the way that it did some good for me. So that's really what got me back into it. And then it was just, picking the guitar back up and trying to remember how to play and, and going from there. And, you doing this work professionally, like being a touring musician, you spend so much time around so many other artists, and, and there's this great phrase that says that iron sharpens iron. And the more people you're around who do the things that you love to do, and that you are inspired by, the better you get, the harder you work, the more you hone your craft. And so there's been a lot of that over the last several years, and it's been great. It's been just an explosion of songwriting. We've done 2 albums, and there's a third one that is just about completely written. But I'm not putting that out anytime real soon. I still got Back from Babylon to
Really
work
good.
with.
What's the next album called?
I haven't decided yet,
Oh, okay.
but I've had some fans have sent in some interesting suggestions to me. Most recently, it was Wine and Wax, because for a very silly reason, I was doing Havdalah service, and you know how you're supposed to drink the wine before you put the candle out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put the candle out, and then went, oh, wait a minute, I was supposed to drink the wine before it. And I always do, right? Like I've got the ritual down, but I don't know what I was thinking. I was here, the flame was huge. I was doing it on Facebook Live, and I'm like, I'm going to burn my house down. So I go to put it out, and it's, and then I look back and I thought, oh, I said a blessing. I have to drink the wine.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't say you're thankful for something and then do nothing with it. So I grabbed it and I moved some wax around. And I took a sip, and then the next time we got together, we had this big digital oneg, and one of my friends had a hat on that said Wine and Wax on it. He said, "That's your new album." So
I
maybe
kind of like it, actually. It's cool.
it's nice, right?
I like the story behind it. I
Yeah,
have
that's
a
a little
fire
weird.
alarm, that in my basement. I set off the fire alarm here with the Havdalah
You
candle.
did?
Oh, I did. And then everybody's like,
Oh,
"What is that
oh
noise?"
no.
Yeah.
Is that captured somewhere? I kind of want to go see that.
Or on one of these Zoom, I'm sure, way back.
I'll
Yeah.
be scouring your Zoom Abdallahs after this.
I don't know how to turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. I mean, it's not. It's that nothing happened is the best part, right? That it was all good. But yeah, I
So
definitely want to see it.
fires from the ceiling.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I'm glad we've survived the hot dollars back here. I mean, this studio, I don't know. I mean, it looks like a small room. It is a small room.
I like your
It
decoration. I
also
like
looks a lot like a bar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I'm in
Thanks.
like a bar type of play. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can just put some wood paneling up on the walls, we'd be set. And a big neon sign in the back. I was trying to get a Corona beer sign, or like a Bud Light sign or something for the back, and my wife was like, probably not for Shabbos. You probably don't want that back
Maybe
there.
not
I said, no,
Corona
that's
either.
true. That's true. Yeah, no, right. Well, how unfortunate. I feel so bad. That's my favorite kind of beer,
Me
and I
too.
feel so bad for him.
Like with
Is it really?
a little lime. It's my favorite. Like on a
Oh,
summer day,
yeah. Do they?
pick it up. Perfect. It's my favorite.
I don't know if they do it up there, and I'm sure they do because they got everything up there. But do they dress it for you?
I say a cold summer day, hot summer day.
You did. You did. I like cold summer days. We don't get enough of those. But I knew what you were talking about. You covered all bases when you said that. It was perfect. It was perfect. Do they dress the Corona up there? Do they dress the beer?
What do you mean dress the beer?
What? Okay, if you ever come to Texas, we're going to do this. So what they'll do is they'll take the bottle and they'll roll it in salt, in
Okay.
margarita salt. And then they put the lime and everything on top of it so that you've got a rim of
I've
salt around the
tasted
top
that
of your
before
Corona.
in some places. Yeah, they don't do
So
that everywhere.
good.
The special places would do that.
The
I
special
guess
place. Well, that's
everywhere
where
is
you go.
special where you live.
I don't know about that. we have a lot of special places, though. We're proud of our special places.
Such a proud Texan. You were telling me that before. You were a Texas proud, right?
I am. I love this state and I love these people. And it's so funny. I actually have a song I wrote about Texas, um, really about how I've never been to Israel. It's
Uh-huh.
like one of the things that people always ask when I'm doing that workshop around my conversion. I'm talking about coming to the tribe and the discovery and all that. It's one of the first things people ask is, have you been to Israel? And I had
Hmm.
enough people ask me that I was like, well, I'm just going to write a song about it. So I did. But in that song, I usually end up putting a little bit in there where I'll say, oh, but I could live here too. Because everywhere I go, I just meet great people. Like I just want to know more and more people. And I think Texas was a good place to kind of root that foundation in
Hmm.
just wanting to spend time with folks
Yeah.
and letting them be who they are and just getting to know people as people. That was a big foundation of my growing up. And it's been nice, and you get on the road and you're just meeting more folks that you're sharing a lifetime with. I mean, there's so many. Obviously, there's a lot of people, but there's so many people that I'm never going to meet. They're great folks. I just will not have that opportunity. I will leave this world before that opportunity happens. And on the one hand, it makes me a little sad because we're in a lifetime together and I just want to meet more people
Such a people
and say
person.
hi to them. And
I
yeah,
am
I
too.
just want to tell them how great they are. Like, thank God you're here.
Aw.
Look, you're loved the way you are by your creator because you're part of creation. And it's so good to be spending some time with you and let's get to know each other. And yeah, I just like
I
people
think that having that
a lot.
personality, I think that personality as a musician to love people, you just give it off through your music, through your just
Oh,
comes through,
thank you.
like your love for people. And just whenever
Thank you very much.
I was telling you before, like you're just this very positive, warm, like friendly,
Oh,
loving guy. Like you're
well,
a loving guy. And you put out a lot of that positive energy and you attract that back. It's the law of attraction. I'm telling you. You put it out there
yeah.
and you meet a lot of great people because you're putting out that greatness into the world.
Oh, making me blush. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's true.
I try to. I don't know. I lived outside of my life for a long time, like really outside of it, and I didn't even know that was the case. I felt like a stranger all the time, and it was a horrible experience. And then I think my wife loved me so much and loved on me so much that I started to feel like I was worthy of that.
Oh,
And then I started realizing everybody's worthy of that.
that's
And then and then it just became this whole I just want to tell people that so badly because I know what it's like to not like who you are for no good reason other than you feel that way. And
mhm.
it's terrible because your life in this world needs you in it, like in it,
Yeah.
not next to it or watching it through a window. It needs you in it and you deserve to be in it. And it's good for you to be in it. And I want people to know that.
Yeah. So good.
Is that too heavy? I feel like I just got really.
Good. It's so good. It's a good
Oh,
thing.
good.
Now I want to hear how you discovered Judaism because I know you told me a little bit, but I want to hear the story and I want our listeners.
Yeah, it's a wild story and it's completely true. I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version of it, because some of it I've already told you a little bit. Like I grew up believing in God. Like my grandfather told me when I was a kid. He said, "You can see God in the world and the way people work, and and you can see the hand of the Creator and everything." And it made sense to me. And he said, "If God wants anything from you, it's live a good life." That was such a simple foundation for God, and a Creator made sense as a kid. But if there's a Creator, you kind of want to know what your relationship to that creator is, right? What does God think of me?
Mm.
Well, I started, my mom moved in with my dad when I was 6 years old. And I started just trying to figure out as much as I could about that relationship. Religion was not something that was allowed in our house at the time. So I went to church with all my friends and all this stuff. And I found that I was that troublemaker, right? Like you're not supposed to raise your hand during mass, like all these things I learned, but I had a lot of questions. And I kept I kept hearing and being told that there was just something innately wrong with me, that I was
Mm.
kind of damaged goods at birth, and really nothing that I could do was going to be good enough, unless I do certain things. And I was like, I struggle with that. I don't think a loving God does that, but there's this great phrase that says 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. And you hear it enough times and you go, well, you either go, I'm into it, or you walk away from it, because it's not like something you totally disbelieve, because you're not running into any different information.
Mm.
And that was definitely the case as a kid. And so I figured I wasn't good enough for God, and I wasn't good enough for me. And it was bad. It was really bad. And then I met my wife. I was working in a gaming store at the time. I should say, when I tell you this next part, you're gonna be like, then where does this whole country thing come from? I was born in Houston. We had a ranch out in Spofford. Like, I spent half my youth on the ranch and then back in the city and back and forth, and grew up on country music. I mean, it's definitely been a huge part of my life. But at this time in my life, I was working in a gaming store. We sold board games and Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, right. Yeah, we'd be packed today. We had no customers back then. And in walks this lady, and I lost my mind. I fell crazy in love the second that I saw this lady, and I knew I had to know who she was, and I had a limited time before she left the store, and I didn't want to do anything creepy, but I just wanted to get to know her so bad. And thankfully, there was a mutual friend who was like, Joe, this is April. April, this is Joe. Joe plays guitar, and I was like, yes, yes, I do. And it was horrible. I was such a dork, and I said, can I play you a song? And she's like, sure. And we were married shortly after, so music totally works. And fast forward, I start looking into God and again, and religion again, and it's just not working out. And April's not really into it. And eventually we just stopped doing everything, until 13 years in our marriage, we're outside the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. And she looks at me and she says, I want to get in touch with my people's faith. And I said, well,
Whoa.
who are your people? Like, that's a weird thing, right? I was like, who is that? And she goes, I'm Jewish. I said, what? I said, when'd you get Jewish? She's like, I was born Jewish. I was like, that's not a thing. And she's like, Joe, that's a thing. That's how it works. I had no idea, because there was no observance in our house. She never talked about it. I came from a background that was more of a Christian background. I had no clue about the covenant passing, through family members like that. That made no sense to me. And I said, look, all I know is that we should probably find a rabbi. And she's like, by the way, our son's Jewish. And I said, does he know that? And she's like, probably not. Her mom was Jewish, and she just told her when she was young, she's like, this is yours to hang on to and protect. You're going to have to figure out what it means on your own. She had a Star of David necklace that she's always had. I just thought she was supportive of her mother. I sound like the worst husband ever when I tell the story, but she got it in an afikoman bag when she was like 4.
God.
And yeah, so we found this rabbi. We walked in, and I said, my name's Joe. It's my wife, April, my son, Nathan. They're Jewish. I'm not, but none of us really know what that means. And this is what he told me. This is what changed all of it. Right? He looked at me and he said, I'm going to sum it up for you. I said, okay, great. He goes, there's one God. There's nothing wrong with you. I said, you're great exactly as you are, and you're okay as you are. You're not carrying weight from anything. He said, this life is the gift. We don't know what happens next, but we know what happens now. And you got to take care of the gift as much as you can. He said, God wants you to live the best life you possibly can and do the most you can with it. And he said, and you do good because it puts more good in the world, not for some reward or anything later on. The good you put in is the reward. And I was like,
Words of wisdom.
and I was like talking to my grandfather. Yeah. And I was like, I want to do this. And he's like, do what? I said, I want to be Jewish. And he's like, okay. He's like, you don't have to. And I was like, well, I totally want to. So I jumped into conversion. My wife and son did it with me, and I started writing songs to help me understand what I was going through. It was a weird time, but it was the best time. Changed the whole world. Changed everything.
That's amazing.
But April had been setting the table for years for it.
Oh yeah.
As much as she was caring about me and kind of nursing me into good health and taking good care of me and all this kind of stuff and teaching me that I was okay. And then, it was like the perfect time. She'd been, when we Hagba and we hold up the Torah, right? She'd been holding the Torah up for me for years and just didn't know it.
And she just decided to tell you 13 years later? It just came out like it was.
She thought I knew.
Oh.
She thought I knew. because and when I confronted her about it, when there's steps, I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "My mom's Jewish." I said, "Yeah, I know your mom's Jewish." I said, "But I didn't know that made you Jewish." And she was like, "Oh my God, Joe." She was like, "The first date we went on was like my cousin's Jewish wedding." I said,
Wow.
"I know, the AC went out. It was an open bar. It was like the best wedding I've ever been to." She was like, "Oh, good grief." But she never talked about it. It was never part of anything that we did, in the house at all.
Hmm.
But when I was going to a lot of different churches trying to find some answers and figure some stuff out, she wouldn't sing any of the prayers or hymns or do anything. She was just like, "I'm here for you. That's it." And now I know why. But yeah, it was wild. It's a wild story.
How did your family and friends react to this major life change? It's pretty radical.
Well, yeah, I'm very close with my wife's side of the family.
Yeah.
We get along great.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
We're very close, and they're all very good people. But life is good. Life is very, very good. And in the midst of all of this stuff that's going on, coming off the road was not anything that I expected, but I get to spend every single day with my best friend. And it's
For lining, man.
I mean, come on. It's been, I don't want to say it's been great because it hasn't been great for a lot of people.
Right.
But if you have to spend this time indoors, it's been a great way to spend that time.
That's so great.
For sure.
What a gift.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
So where did you travel? I mean, we were all over the place, huh?
I was everywhere. Well, it's funny. Like if you're say a regular touring artist, if you're a secular touring artist, the way you do it is you pick a town, right? You say, well, I want to go to San Diego, and you're going to plot a route, and you contact the bars and the venues. And I've played bars and venues as well, but you contact all the people along the way, and you build a tour. That's how come you see these bands in the cities, just line up. But Jewish music is very different. It is wildly different. You go to one place for a whole weekend. I'm there. I do a Friday night, like Americana Shabbat. We'll do a Saturday night concert, a workshop. I'll do a songwriting workshop and just do all this stuff. You spend a whole weekend with a community, and you can be in, West Palm Beach one weekend, and within a couple of days you're over in San Francisco, and then the next time you're up in Billings, and I mean you just bounce. You kind of
That's awesome.
It's like when you get those like little bouncy balls with your quarter at the grocery store when you're a kid, and you hit it once and it goes everywhere. It's kind of like that.
That's awesome. You love to travel. You've loved all the
Oh,
places.
it's the best. I've met so many great. I mean, just the great people in the congregations too. But like, it's so funny how many people I've met on planes.
Yeah.
And I'm normally not chatty. Like I'm that guy who gets on a plane and goes to sleep. But I have met some wonderful friends
Yeah.
on planes, and
Aw.
yeah, I just like people. I just want to see more people. But
So yeah.
oh no, I was gonna
You could-
ask how you're doing.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
good.
we chatted for a little bit. What's this been like for you?
It's been, you know what? I was telling someone the other day, my kids are homeschooled
Right,
and I have a job. I mean, it's part-time, but I still have a lot of responsibilities going,
right.
and I have started doing Zoom gigs, like birthday party gigs and
Really? That's great.
doing virtual voice teaching and stuff. I've been so busy that it's been so wonderful being with my kids. I mean, as
Right,
I was saying, it's a silver lining that I get to really bond with them and get to really
right,
nurture them and help them, grow and, just be so present in their lives
right.
and try to give them as much love and attention and as I can. Sometimes though, with all of that, there comes the impatience and the they're both very little, there's 4 and 2. So it's like the tantrum,
Right.
the constant tantrums and the screaming and the complaining and the whining.
Oh,
So it's taught me a lot about myself, just my patience and
right,
my my temper and like just how I work with myself more than I've
yeah,
ever had, and then just not having much me time and not having time to like pamper and just do stuff for myself has been really very challenging.
for sure.
And just not seeing as many friends and in person. And I mean, here and there we'll do like I'll see people outside, but
Right.
for walks or for like small gatherings with masks. But it's just not the same. You just want to hug people when you see them. You just want to, it's hard. It's a
Yeah.
mix of beautiful blessings, and it's a mix of a lot of fear and angst. And for me, it's been gifts and blessings, and also just the who knows what's going to happen. What's going on in the world? Are we going to
Right.
get over this soon? What's happening? Are we ever going to get past this? This feeling of not having any endpoint, which has been
Yeah,
really
it's really bizarre. It's like it's like walking across a icy lake. Like it all looks good, but I guess we're not supposed to walk on that side over there. And no, there's a crack over here. Okay, so we're gonna shift and go this way, but we're like all walking together. It's really it's pretty wild. I was gonna say you can tell that you love being a mom.
I do. I
And
really
I think that is wonderful. And I'm sure your kids think that is wonderful. And they definitely will recognize that, as they get older, what a blessing it is to have
thank
a
you.
mom who loves being a mom.
Yeah. I've been doing like cooking and arts and crafts and things that I never really thought I'd be like doing and becoming really good at actually. I do say so myself. I'm like my challah baking. Like whoever thought I would ever be baking challah?
Like all the stuff,
But like
all
on
the
a rainy
stuff,
day, it's kind of a fun thing to do with them.
right? I miss doing that stuff. My son's, he's 20 and he calls me every day. He's off at college. He calls me every day. We don't always have something to talk about, but we always talk. And yeah, we did so much stuff. Nathan was homeschooled. He wasn't like a bad student or having a hard time in school, but he needed some additional like opportunities for learning. Yeah, I think he was really just what was going on. He was really bored in some classes and things like that, and he needed to be able to kind of stretch a little bit. So, I left the work that I was doing, and I was like, well, this is a perfect time to consider this, to homeschool. And it was great. I did it all the way from 7th grade through his high school.
Yeah.
And we spent every day together,
Oh,
and just, it was amazing. And then he goes off to college,
that
and
must.
it was like, I mean, it felt like grief,
Oh,
because it's a loss, something significant, even though he's not gone, right? He's not here. You wake up, he's not there. Go to bed, still not here. What's up? So I'm glad he calls me. I miss those. I
that's
miss those days. I miss those.
my
I'm
dad.
glad for these days,
Yeah.
and it's good to look back and know that those were good days.
And he's feeling good and happy and independent now in college. And
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm really proud of the choices that he made. It's funny, him being Jewish. He's really owned being Jewish. He found out he was Jewish when he was 12.
yeah, so
It's
that's
like a big day coming up,
yeah.
right? And so by the time he was 13, he did have a bar mitzvah. And he read from the Torah, and he led Friday and Saturday services and Torah readings, the whole 9 yards. He did great. He's trained as a gabbai, went on to USY. Like he really embraced it. When he went off to college, though, he's like one of maybe 4 Jews that he knows on that campus. So all these other religious groups come to him for questions about Judaism.
Oh,
And so he has become much more studied even than he was then. And the last time he was talking to our rabbi, he was like, I feel like I'm like the representative for Judaism or something there. And he goes, you are. It's like, gotcha. Okay, 10-4.
wow. So yeah, he has to do his research. He has to know what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. I was really, his girlfriend who is not Jewish wrote during the high holy days, Gemar Chatima Tova on my thing. And she's like, did I say it right? I'm like, you are natural, Charlotte. That is wonderful. And she tunes into services, and it's
Nice.
just, it's really nice. It-
Really
Life is
nice.
good. Life
Is
is
he
good.
musical too? Is he into music or?
He is. He played drums for a while, but he's much more into um, listening and in digital creation and things like that than necessarily live instrumentation. I tried to teach him guitar, and he was like, "Nope, I'm out." I was like, "That's fair. It's not definitely not for everybody." But he played drums. He played in the house School of Rock for a while in their house band. He
Yeah.
and I did some music together at services, and it was fun. It was a good time.
That's fun. Well, I have to say, you are so good at marketing yourself. Like you just have such a unique, like a very
Oh,
unique brand, and you just like you have such a just you're so good at getting yourself out there, and whoever's helping you, you're out there, and
I'm
you are
glad it looks that way.
even through all of this pandemic, you are just out there still,
Oh,
and you're sharing and giving, and
thank you.
getting people to join you all the time, and it feels like, you're really reaching out to people, and it's great.
Thank you. I'm trying to do my best. It's a whole thing right now for everybody, and it's an opportunity to dial back into your purpose and re-examine your purpose, and then figure out how can you best deliver that to folks, and how can you do the most good, and how do you build that up in a way that's reliable for the folks who want that more often. And it's been quite a challenge, but I appreciate you saying that, because it is tough. It really is difficult, but I'm glad it doesn't look that way, which is that's the goal. You don't want anyone to worry about you. So thank you for saying that.
So can we? Of course. I wanna hear you sing some more. I wanna hear you
Oh,
share some more songs with us. I know you
yeah.
mentioned that song about Texas. I
Oh,
don't know
you
if you
want to
want
hear
to share
that?
that song.
That's sure.
Well,
I'll play that for you.
people are
It's not the most like soothing tune, but it is a fun tune. If you want to hear that, it'd probably be good to hear a fun song, right? All right, let me turn this thing on. So I'll
Yeah.
tell you the story
Sure.
in front of this. So I was hired by the Greater El Paso Jewish Federation for Israel Independence Day. And I told the fellow on the phone, he had this like delicious Israeli accent that I can't possibly duplicate. But he goes, we're so excited to have you. I said, well, hold on, I've never been to Israel. And he goes, it's fine. The rabbi loves your music. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, he goes, you do Israeli folk songs, right? I said, no, I really don't. And he goes, it's okay. The rabbi loves it. And I said, well, listen, how about I send you some stuff? You tell me if you're into it. And then I'll do the gig, because I would hate to misrepresent, right? I don't want to get out there and then be like, this isn't what we wanted. So I sent him some music, and I reached out about a couple of weeks before the gig, and I said, hey, Tan, I said, did you like what you hear? And he goes, oh, I haven't heard it yet, but the rabbi loves it, so it'll be great. I said, all right, fine. So I came out, and I'm there in El Paso, Texas, like 500 something people in this auditorium. And I said, we talked about Israel and all the things we loved about it. And I said, the truth is I've never been. I've never been there. It's just a pricey ticket, and I haven't gotten there yet. But I'll get there at some point. I said, but even though we do have a holy land, I do personally think that the holiest place that you can be is exactly where you're at. That's where your life's taking place. You're in the holy spot you're supposed to be in. And I said, and God and I met in Texas. So I have been to Texas. And somebody in the back goes, ow, like that. And I was like, wow, either y'all have had enough to drink or you're my people. So I played this song for him, and I'll play it for you. It's called Texas. Ooh, that's hot. You hear that okay? Is that too loud on your end?
Sounds great. Sounds
That's
really
pretty intense. All right. Whoa, well, I've never been to Israel, but I floated the Frio River. They don't make hummus at Neil's. They make a mean chicken dinner. But them mesquite trees and them singing leaves, well, they always remind me of God. Floating back in tubes feels so darn good that it might get out of law. Well, Texas is like a holy land to me. Oh, but I could live there too. It's a place where the heavens feel close. Yeah, where God taught me to see. And if I don't make my way across that sea someday, I'll be glad I lived in Texas, where I first found the reason to pray. Oh, pick it up. When I was a kid, I was trouble born, trouble did. No one thought I'd make it to 15. Well, I was such a mess. Yeah, struggling, well, I did my best, and the getting good was getting pretty lean. I believe God's where you are. We met under that lone star between you and God, and there ain't no one between. If you're feeling down, well, my friend, just come on down to the state where the name means anything but mean. Hey, now Texas is like a holy land to me. It's a place where the heavens feel close. Yeah, where God taught me to see. Yeah, And if I don't make my way across that sea someday, I'll be glad I lived in Texas, where I first found the reason to pray. I'll be glad I lived in Texas, where I first found the reason, yeah, to pray.
That was awesome. I love that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask you, do you mind if I play you a little more relaxing tune?
Yeah,
Would that be all right?
totally.
So we just,
You want to
we just read, what happened?
that whatever you want to share. I'm here.
Oh, thanks.
I'm waiting.
Sorry, I heard you for a second. I felt terrible. I thought I spoke over you, and I was like, oh no, what'd you say? I want to hear.
I'm just
Well, we just had, that was weird. We just read Breshit, right? So we're reading about Genesis, and we're reading about creation. And my wife and I, we midrash a lot. So we've turned that into a verb, right? We midrash all the time. So we talk about like figures in the Torah and characters and whatnot. And we started looking at the story of the garden really as a coming of age tale. And we thought there's a beautiful love story that needs to be told that's in here. We hear so often about, Eve eating from the tree and whatnot. Oh, you weren't supposed to do that. But how could she have known it was wrong if it was a tree of the knowledge of good and evil until after she ate from it? And then what happens? Has a sense of responsibility. Eve grows up. Wait, I'm responsible. I get to choose to do right. I get to choose to do wrong if I want. I can make these decisions, and I can do great stuff, and I can live my own life. It's a beautiful thing. It's what everybody goes through as they grow up. At some point, they got to leave the garden to see how high they can grow, right? And so she has this awareness, and she gives it to Adam. Maybe that's why, girls mature faster than boys. I don't know. She gives it to Adam. They leave the garden, and then that's the first time we hear about the struggles of life. It's the first time we hear about childbirth. And there's a beautiful midrash where at the end of everything, like God comes back to Adam and Eve and says, all right, you lived your life. Come on back. Come on back to the garden. No more pain, no more worry, no more suffering, no more anything. And they look around at everything they've built together and everything they've been through. And they're like, oh, we're good. This is our home. Thank you, though. And I just love that. I just love it so much. Anyway, so we wrote this tune. This is called A Song for Eve. Where would we be if the world didn't taste so sweet? Would we be the partners we were meant to be? 'Cause in that garden was life, but you could only grow so high. We were never eternal, but living on given time. When God made you, it was no mistake. Creation was done and it was good for goodness sake. 'Cause if you wanted to grow out of that garden, you had to go to struggle loud in the world. And that coming of age meant we were lifted right off the page, or to soar high and earn the right to be inscribed. When God made you, it was no mistake. Creation was done and it was good for goodness sake. Yeah, when you chose us with the fruit you ate, you gave us a chance to reflect the light that God made. Where would we be if not for Eve? And would we even be if not for Eve?
I love that. Beautiful, beautiful song.
Oh, thanks a bunch.
It was
I
lovely.
appreciate that.
So you just recently wrote that?
No, so that's off our new album, which is called Back from Babylon. And you know, it's interesting because we did just put that out as a single,
Yeah.
in a sense, because we released that new album in a soft launch, like at the very end of last year. And we had this whole tour built up to promote it and then do like this big release thing and all this stuff. And then what happens? March. The longest march in history happens, and all of that got canceled. So I thought, wow, well, now it's out there. How am I going to let people know about it? You know, so we start building strictly a social media campaign. And then I thought, you know, every single one of these tunes on here tells a very specific story. So we are going to, even though the album's out, we are going to share one tune, you know, so that they can all live individually. And it turns out that there's, you know, when we have this great book we read every year, and there's a lot of the songs in there are tied to Torah and around the Torah. So I was like, well, we got a solid year to get all these out. So yeah, thanks.
Great. It's really
Thanks. I know you've got me on here as your guest, but next time we do this, I want to hear you sing. Like, I'm such a big fan. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, I want to hear some stuff.
You know what's been so great is that I send you stuff and I'm like, can you just
Yeah.
be some ears from me? I need your ear on this. You've just been so helpful and like giving me the best
Thank
feedback
you.
and put me in touch with great musicians too. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
Toby's great, isn't he?
he's so wonderful. He
He's
really made
amazing.
that song come to life, and just really like I thank you. Really,
Oh, it's my pleasure. I
so
think
helpful.
you're a tremendous artist. I'm a huge fan,
Oh, thanks.
and I'm so excited about everything that you've got going on that's in the works. Every time you send me stuff, I'm like, when is this,
Yeah.
stop holding on to it. The world needs it so bad. So I'm just a real big fan. So I appreciate that there's a lot of trust for anyone who knows, like when you send somebody music, there's a huge amount of trust involved. So that means a lot to me,
Just send it.
Talia, and it's not lost on me. So thank you.
Yeah. Very, very picky about who I like let hear, works in progress.
It's tough. It's a very vulnerable thing, especially if it's in progress, because you're like, I like what's happening. I'm not necessarily sold on everything that's happening, and you're sharing it.
And I'm
It's
like,
a pretty big it's a
I'm
pretty
new to
big
the
thing.
whole song. I mean, I've been writing songs, but I don't really know if I'm like a songwriter. I just like writing poetry and then I find a melody and I'm just,
That's technically songwriting.
never
You've
took a
done it.
course or anything. And I kind of feel like I need some guide, someone to guide me a little bit, through the whole process.
Yeah,
So
you
anyway,
know
you've been such a,
the best trick for me as a songwriter has been, now, and I don't know how many bad songs you've written, but I've written a million bad songs. The goal was always to fill up a bucket. Like, I have so many raindrop songs, it's unreal. These are songs that there's a tiny bit done, and nothing else is there. And at that point, you just capture what you can, because otherwise you're going to keep hitting it and keep hitting it, trying to hammer it out, and it's going to be unrecognizable when you're done. So you stop when the inspiration's high, but you can't think of anything else. and you set it aside, you'll always come back to it if that's the case.
Yeah.
And when you need something, you got this whole bucket full of raindrops that you can pick from. And yeah, I'm dealing with that in a big way right now. I've got all these half-finished songs, and I'm like, can I like marry two of these together? Like I've got it. There's got to be a way to do this. So it's yeah, it's an interesting challenge. I'm excited for you though. I think you're truly amazing, and you do this great thing in I think both your singing and the way you compose your melodies, both with the music and vocally. You really dial into telling the story, which I think is so important because there is a deep difference between I'm just going to throw you something and tell you this thing and you're going to listen to it and here's a song versus I wrote this for you and let's just take a moment because there's something really important I want to tell you. And that feeling exists in your music. And I think it's a tough thing for folks to figure out how to do as artists. And you have that already going for you. So I'm very excited about everything coming down the pipe.
Coming from you, and it's a huge compliment that you
hear. Thanks.
Lots of mutual respect and love here.
It's a mutual appreciation committee.
Yes.
Sure.
Wait, do we have time for one more, or do you have it? You have it in you, or you want to?
I do. Yeah. You want to hear something super Jewish?
Totally. Go totally. Super Jew.
All right. Let's do it. I think I put that on a post at one point. We were putting out Back from Babylon, and I had the title track, which is a real, it's a real. I was going to say a banger, but you never say your own song is a banger. But it's a real there's a lot of heavy, crunchy guitars and stuff in there. And I put up the top, I put is it Jewish? You bet it is. It's super Jewish. You can stick a cape on it. And anyway, I felt really silly for saying that. So when Hurricane Harvey blew through Houston, it was a really challenging time. And we've had a lot, of hurricanes and storms and things since. But I have friends who lost everything during that, and whole communities did. There's these videos you can find on YouTube that are taken from just like the JCC here in Houston of furniture floating up to the ceiling. And a lot of these communities have had to gut everything and rebuild multiple times because that's, Houston, unfortunately, we're built on a swamp and we haven't quite figured out drainage yet, although we're probably one of the best at it, but we still haven't perfected it yet. But nature has perfected storms and we deal with that. So I had some friends who lost everything in Hurricane Harvey, and they were literally holding on to the sides of their house and watching their dog go down the street. Yeah, it was bad. And I thought they're very religious people. And I thought, how hard is it to pray after that? How hard is that to reach out and to feel like you're protected and you're secure and you're good and you're okay and all this. And I don't write a lot of prayer melodies because I have to be deeply connected to the prayer to write it. Otherwise, I don't want to just put, a melody to a prayer. But after Harvey came through Houston and we saw all these people getting back up, helping each other stand back up and rebuild and all this beautiful, shining examples of humanity. And I can see God in all of that. Right. And so it was like this reaffirming strength. So I thought, let's write a prayer melody that's built in struggle, but is resolved through the human spirit. And so that's what became of this. This is how this came about. So this is a Hashki Venu for you. We'll spread out the shelter over us and guide us so in love. Yeah, we'll shield us from the storm that blows our way. Yeah, there's shelter in the shadow of your wings. Hashki Venu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Alidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Lay us down low, lay us down, oh down in peace. sea. There's shelter in the shadow of your wings. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Le'shalom Le'amidenu Shoreinu Le'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Le'shalom Le'amidenu Malkeinu Le'chaim. We pray for life, Lord, and we pray for peace. But now and when the drums are at ease, yeah, well, blessed always the one who gave us breath. And you saved us so we can live what we've got left. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Le'shalom Le'amidenu Shoreinu Le'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Le'shalom Le'amidenu Malkeinu Le'chaim. Yeah, there's shelter in the shadow of your wings. There's shelter in the shadow of your wings. There's shelter in the shadow of your wings.
Thank you, Joe. That was such a perfect message to like end this whole thing with.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And I was singing along. It was just I couldn't.
I want to sing that. I want to sing that with you. I want to like send that to you. Be like, what would you do with this? Toby and I are actually putting it together right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, the world needs more of that. Of that. And
it's funny. The world is. Can I tell you one thing real quick? I like this is what happens, right? You get me talking, and I'm like, oh, wait, one more thing. We'll get this. I have to tell you the world.
Like we could go hours, bro.
We could go. But I see the clock. April's holding the card up. She's fixing to get the hook. I think that we are surrounded by so much goodness all the time. And it's weird to say that in the face of everything that's going on, everything we see, all the struggle, that's all very real, right? But the day-to-day sun coming up and all the little good things that we have in our lives day to day, they become the common thing. The goodness becomes the common thing. And because of that, all the other stuff is uncommon. That's why it's so loud. That's why it's so painful. That's why it hits us so hard. It's not what we're used to. We're not numb to it. That's why it shocks us so much when it hits us. But we lose sight of the goodness. We really do. And there's a great phrase that says, fish don't think about water, right? And we need to think about the water. And I think that music has a great way of holding that mirror up and saying, look how great you are. You're amazing. Just look at yourself. And anyway, I appreciate you doing this. And thanks for putting up with me for so long on here.
So wonderful and engaging, and just so fulfilling and heart-opening. I knew it was me heart-opening and mind-opening. And
Well,
so
thank you
so much. And thank you to all the listeners out there for listening in and tuning in and getting to know Joe and his music.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us.
This was a fun hang.
For sure.
So I wish you peace and love and all good things as you go on your way. And I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon just to talk and check in. But thank you so much.
Right
And
back
take
at
care.
you.
Have
Thanks
a
so much for having me.
beautiful night. And you froze. Where are you?
I'm right here. I'm still here.
Joe, you froze.
Oh no!
Oh, there you
I
are.
can see. I can see you. Oh, I'm here. Did it do
No,
it?
there you are. Right at the end. Right at the end.
I said same to you. Thanks so much for having me. You're
Right from the
amazing.
end.
Yeah, did we get
Yes,
it?
of course. Thank you. Yeah, we got it. We got it. We got it there.
We're good. We got it. We did it.
I did it.
Yay.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh.
Thank you
Are we
all
still?
so much for tuning in.